Well, hello again, everybody. I've been getting a lot of emails and messages about what's going on with the Thunderbird. What's going on? That's a legitimate question. So I figured I'd give you an update, which is not part of the series, just an update for those of you who have been following along. For those of you who have not, and you have no idea what I'm talking about, we just finished 99 videos on the restoration of a 1966 Thunderbird. Not restoration, but refurbishment. I can't afford a restoration. It runs into many thousands and thousands of dollars. So the whole idea was to, just get this baby running. Well, as it turned out, we ran into problem after problem after problem that I called issue after issue after issue, which is the fun part. I love it. Sometimes it gets frustrating, I got to admit. But we've been having some problems or issues with the taillights. Let me show you. None of the taillights worked properly. Signal lights, none of it. It was just so corroded, it was so bad off. I went ahead and dismantled everything. It had to be done. There's no way I could get it to function the way it was. The corrosion was so bad on those light sockets, and which required me to buy a whole new wiring loom setup for these sequential taillights and these sequential taillights. And they set me back quite a bit of money. Now, as you know, for those of you who've been following along, I just got my garage wired with lights. That set me back quite a few bucks that I wanted to actually use on here, but I needed lights in the garage, and I now have them all taken care of. Still, I needed these, and I contacted Nick at Vintage Thunderbird Repair, and he told me what to buy, where to buy, and all that stuff from Bird's Nest. And these were $80 a side for 3 sets of sockets for each side with the wiring that goes into the car. A couple of short, wires sticking out the back that hook up. That was $80 a set, plus shipping, okay? So, we're getting into some heavy bucks now on that sort of thing. Plus, I had to take the entire mechanism out, everything, de-rust it, paint it, put it all back in, and then take some silver paint, some of that metallic silver. For those of you, by the way, who maybe, most of the reflection was gone. This is the corroded area right here. You'll remember we had the broken taillight, and there's a lot of rough surface in there, but I smoothed it down the best I could without, it's metal. That is not plastic. That is metal all the way across, pot metal. And the rest is just regular metal, and I de-rusted everything, put new bolts in, new nuts, lock washers, the whole works, new bulbs, new wiring harness for each side, like I said. And I do not have the lights in yet for the backup lights. I have the bulbs. I just haven't stuck them in yet. And I shined up the bumper a little bit with some good old-fashioned Dollar General store Brillo pads. They're not Brillo brand, they're Dollar General. A whole box of them for $1, so what the heck. And it shined up pretty good, but it's not beautiful. But when I get done, I got brand new taillight lenses for it, all kinds of good stuff. I've already shined up the aluminum that goes around it to the best I could. That's all sitting down there ready to go. And so that's what's going on with that. Now here's what we had. Once I got done, all the lights lit up. It was great, wonderful. Brendan and I took a look at it and said, hey, And then when I turned the left signal light on, instead of getting blink, 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 I was getting blink, blink. This one did not work, which means what's inside that bag over there, that round white bag that you see, that's the motor and the contacts for the sequentials. We're going to have to tear into that bag. Now, when I turned the right signal on, what happened was all 3 lights here and all 3 lights here started blinking on and off as if I had the flashers on. They just went on and off, on and off. Everything went on and off. There was no sequential over here at all. So anyway, we're still messed up on that, which is wiring, and again, up into that bag, and probably something maybe on, up inside the car. I'm following the wiring right now. So that's what's going on with that. But so far, it's looking really nice. It really looks cool all lit up, though, in the dark. Of course, it doesn't do much. And one more thing, the brake lights, when I press the brake lights, do not light up. So that's probably the switch under the dash where I tore everything apart to put that booster in. I'll have to check that out and find out if I'm getting continuity. It's just a single switch that hits the brake pedal, push the brake pedal down, it goes in and it makes contact with a thing. that makes contact inside. I'll have to find out whether or not it's working or not, but that's a minor item. Right now I got to get the rest of it going. So that's what's going on with that. And since I have to check all the wiring, you know, underneath these tracks here, which was underneath the seat on both sides, I figured, you know, what the heck, you know, I might as well gut the whole thing out. So I did. I gutted it out and cleaned it up. Still have a little bit more scraping to do, but I've got everything I need to get this thing de-rusted and painted and all that other jazz. It's going to take a while to knock all that rust off, though. I've got the angle grinder, I've got the wire cone brush, and I got the de-rusting stuff and all that stuff. And over here, I cut out all that rusty spot in the floor with my angle grinder and a cutting wheel. That is all out. Now, the fuse panel is our next. I went up under there to take one of the wires loose to eliminate, well, actually a couple of wires off the, it was threaded rods under there with a nut on it. And I needed to remove them so I could clean them up. They were really corroded and rusty and everything. I wanted good contact because that could have been part of the problem with the tail lights also. And when I put the ratchet on the nut and I started moving it off a little bit, the whole stud and everything broke out of the fuse panel. Ugh, you know, come on. So with that big hole there, I need to get up under there. Now that was before I cut the hole, but it was so ragged and jagged and everything, it was really a danger for me to be laying on it to begin with. But now I've got boards. I cut a couple of plywood boards. I got them laying across the giant hole, and I've got a carpet on there, so now I can lay down and work on nice and solid. And I can get up under there with the drop light and find out if I can even repair that fuse panel. If I can't, I'll just find out where the wire came from and I'll just splice into it with whatever wire it goes to. I'm not sure. It might be the brake light wire. I don't know. And as you can see, we've got a lot. I want to get this entire console out of here. That'll be next. One more thing. These are the seats. This is the back seat. And when I took it out, these, as you can see, the upholstery shot. This is so shrunk up. It's separated, shrunk up. There's no way it can be pulled back over and stitched, and I don't want to do it anyway because it's ratty crap. Speaking of ratty crap, underneath the seat on the passenger side, which would be over here, there was a huge rat's nest in there. It had been abandoned years ago, apparently, but it was just, the whole thing was just full of stuff. Now, for those of you who might be interested, I'm going to have to take all the upholstery, all this foam and everything off, because I've got to get this these springs de-rusted. They're really in terrible condition. Right here in particular, you can see already we've got some. I'm going to do the very best I can. I tried to contact a guy in a town locally who has a sandblasting outfit, and it's called X Express or something like that, and Media Express or something like that. You can't never get a hold of the guy. So I'm fed up with that crap. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do the best I can here. I wanted him to sandblast the springs for me because it would have been so much quicker and easier. This is the kind of thing I really don't want to tackle, but I will if I have to, you know. Just going to take a while. And that foam rubber, let me show you something that is just not going to fly. The upholstery for the back seat, both the rear side, these two rears, this is the rear, two-piece rear, and the center console armrest that goes down between them. So the bottom, the console, and the two backs, and the front seat, both the top or the back and the seat for both sides. The upholstery in this color right here, which the ID tag in this car says it's G6, which is pearl. It's a pearl color, they call it, and then the inside of the car is trimmed in black, which matches up exactly with what the book says. So this is not white, it's a pearl. $550 covers everything, which, you know, that seems like a lot of money, but if I were to take this to an upholstery shop and say, hey, do it exactly like you see it here, they could run up to $1,500 or more. So I don't mind buying the upholstery and doing it myself. I'll get my grandson over here. We'll set up a long table. We'll just keep working at it until it's done. However, here's the rub. Here's what really rubs me. The foam rubber. That foam rubber you see there, just for this seat alone, $350. They got to be kidding. That is never, ever going to happen. No, not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is try to salvage as much of this as I can, and I'm going to put some of that more modern foam rubber right over the top and trim along the edge with a pair of scissors and get it to fit as best I can, because I'm not spending almost as much for foam rubber for one seat bottom as all of the seat covers combined. That's just so dumb. It's just not going to happen. So for those of you who own Thunderbirds, you got plenty of money to spend, go ahead and knock yourself out. I am not going to do it. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, last item, very important. We're back to the taillights. If you have bad taillight wiring and connectors and all that stuff, and you need to go, I bought those wires, those looms from Bird's Nest, per the suggestion of Nick of Vintage Thunderbird Repair. And each one has wires coming in the rear. They're two separate looms. They have wires coming in the rear with long black things sticking out that the wires go through, and the plastic has been, heat molded around the wires to keep them waterproof. Originally, when I took this silver part off, they had the same kind of black things sticking out the rear, and they were curled over like this and wrapped with electrical tape. They weren't sticking straight out like the ones I got from Bird's Nest. They were like this, and then they wrapped electrical tape all the way around them. I said, well, that's interesting. I wonder why they did that. And I said, well, I'm not going to do that to these because they're brand new and they're stiff. They're pretty stiff and everything. The rubber, the plastic that they use is really good quality stuff. So when I got it all done, got everything wired in, and if you do get these things, don't throw away these copper colored things. You've got to have them to hold the sockets in. I couldn't get it back in. I could not get this thing back in. It would only go so far and stop, so far and stop. So I removed these plastic things that were filling up the holes, and they still wouldn't go back in. It still wouldn't go back in. It was all one piece. I didn't take it apart in order to paint this. I'll show you what kind of paint I used here in a minute. I got to remember, I said, that thing was curled over like that on the back, those black pointed things that stick out. If you go to Bird Nest and look up their wiring loom for taillights, you'll see what I'm talking about. What was happening was they were hitting the body of the car. That's why this entire thing here wouldn't go in. I said, oh, I know what that deal is here. So I went ahead and bent each one of them over, taped them up like they were originally from the factory. What does the factory know, right? This is the paint that everyone recommends. Now, of course, the top looks, the paint never looks like the top does, but it does a pretty good job of coming fairly close. Probably closer than any of the others. And when I turned on all these lights for myself and for Brendan, it does reflect really well. Yeah, I put a couple of coats on. I sanded and sanded and sanded and got it as smooth as I could. Over here it's really nice, but over here it's really rough. But that's where all that corrosion was. Nothing I can do about it. I'm not about to sand away the metal. We do the best we can and let it rip. This is a Krylon Premium Metallic. This is an 8-ounce can. It's tall and skinny. Okay? It's not a short can. Krylon Premium Metallic Original Chrome. That's what you want for those of you who own Thunderbirds, and you want to clean this up, sand it down, and paint it. You do all that before you put in your wiring sockets and everything, or you tape up what you've got if they're good and give them a good coat. So I also got the gaskets I bought. We're ready to rock and roll on this. As soon as I can get all of the lights to work, then I'm going to put it all back together and put those brand new lenses I got on. I'll have to take the Thunderbird symbol off the one in the center, which is the backup lights, and put that on the brand new lenses we have. I'll tell you what, if I can get this done the way I want it done, it's going to look very, very sharp. Well, that's it. Until next time, guys. This is John. Well, as usual, there's always a couple things, one or two. We got the headlights working okay, and I put brand new adjusters in. One of the screws was manufactured wrong, so I had to reorder a brand new thing of adjusters, and I have them here. I'll go ahead and put those in probably before I leave the garage this afternoon, and we'll have our headlights operational, and I'll still be working on the parking lights. So that's one. The last thing, I promise, the last thing. For those of you who want to go to the double pumper, this is what my brace looks like now. That goes all the way up to the firewall, or up to the cowl. Comes down. You can't even hardly tell that it was cut out. The bottom piece was cut out. This top piece was cut out. Shaped it around, ground it very, very carefully, and it went right around the double master cylinder, and it's almost difficult to tell it was even done. So, by the way, there is a double pumper or a double reservoir master cylinder and booster available now for the 65 and 66 Thunderbirds. Now, they're not cheap, but they are available, just to let you know. And I probably wouldn't have had to go through all this. It's probably a lot shorter this way, but you know, if worse comes to worse, maybe someday, if I ever live long enough, which I probably won't, I'll go ahead and get one of those, but probably not if this one's going to work okay. And I also got the right I'll tell you what, when I got this through the mail, and I started putting that on there, it reminded me so much of the old days when I was a young kid, because I had a car that, you know, it was an old Plymouth, and that's what we used. That was what was on them. It just felt like I was back 18 years old again, putting that thing on there. Okay, now I promise that's the end of it.